Hey,
Hello. Hey, how you doing?
good. How you doing?
Good, good, good to see you.
Yeah, you're from you're living out in California?
Los Angeles, yeah.
Oh,
Get
wow.
my tripod here. There we go. LA, yes, yes, yes.
LA. I'm out here in the big open spaces of Texas.
Okay, how's the weather there?
It's getting hot again. I'm not a fan. I'm a big component and supporter of fall weather.
Right, exactly, exactly. Yeah, it just got hot here, like the last 2 days. I guess we're starting a heat wave, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, you're better suited for the heat, I take it.
Yeah, yeah. I think I like the heat better. Once it gets above 100, then it starts getting pretty crazy, but I'm more
Yeah.
a summer guy.
It's like living out in California, you probably have pretty much what I hear is you guys have all aspects of every season except the coldest one. So but you have snow. You have access to snow there, some in the mountains, or
We have access to snow if we, drive deep into the mountains, but
yeah.
we did get snow once, I think about 10 years ago. So it happens once every like 500 years. Yeah, pretty
Okay, wow.
much.
And I just want to make sure I was pronouncing your last name right. It's Mahone or Mahoney.
Mahoney, I like that. Like a Mahoney, basically like Mahoney bologna.
Oh, Mahoney Baloney. Okay,
Yeah, there you go.
nice. Yeah, I've been a fan. Just this is speaking with John Mahoney, whoever is watching. Um, but I've been a fan of your stuff for quite some time, and I'm glad you decided to accept my invitation to have a conversation. And these don't go for very long. They're usually the timer only gives us like a maximum an hour, so they don't take up too much time. I know it isn't everyone has busy schedules that still have schedules, you know.
Right, right. Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, it's all
Yeah,
good.
yeah, and I always appreciate your aesthetic. And I see here, I looked through some of your portfolio on Carbon, and you've worked for Hasbro, you've done stuff for Disney, and Blizzard.
Blizzard, I taught at Blizzard. So I taught sculpture design or just sculpture basically at Blizzard for, I don't know, about 8 months maybe, which was
Oh
cool.
wow,
Yeah.
sounds like a cool experience. We have a Blizzard out here in Austin, and
Oh, really? Interesting.
yeah, I tried to fly there a few times. I don't think they like my aesthetic too much, but I never got any calls back. But I'm over that. That was years ago. I kind of moved on to comics and kind of want to do that. And I wanted to, with this everything that's going on now, I know a lot of people are at home, and I talked to Vincent last time. Vincent Nappi, I
Yeah,
think
I'm
you
a
had
big
that
fan of his
conversation.
his work as well. Yeah, totally, totally.
Oh yeah, and we've known each other in the past. We have a similar past, familiar, and I thought after that conversation, I felt pretty good about it. I thought I should have more conversations with more artists and designers at this time, and
Absolutely.
I ones I like the best. And your work has always stood out to me. Like when I see your stuff, and I'm not someone that's particularly interested in style per se, you
Hmm.
know, and you can probably go into that some more yourself, in terms of how you feel about aesthetics and style, or are you moving in the direction you like with your work as of right now, or do you feel comfortable with what you know, or are you trying to learn some new things? Because I know I've seen your sculpture stuff, and it's impressive, but it has a similar aesthetic. So I feel like you're aiming for something, and I would like to know more about what that is.
Oh, okay. Well, before I start, I want to say I really love your work as well. I wanted to see if you have any work for sale. But
I
yeah, I think your work is
appreciate that.
amazing. I really love your stuff.
Yeah,
Um,
thank you.
yeah, yeah. I think. Well, to answer your question, you'd be surprised. My goal is not to do art. It's a live action film. Live action film directing. That's my goal. It's been my goal forever.
Oh, really?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
That's
So,
cool.
yeah, so I'm working on a feature right now, based on my comic book, and it's going to be like a live action sci-fi feature. And the script is done, a lot of the design is done, and we're focusing on getting all the storyboards done by August 15th. So I have about 5 people working on the film right now.
Oh wow.
And yeah, live action, not stop motion, not 2D animation, not CG, but real people, real creatures, costumes, like, like something that was made in the 70s, basically, that type of aesthetic. So,
Oh wow. That sounds awesome. And
yeah, it's a dream come
that
true.
sounds, I'm surprised to hear that. Like I think I feel like every artist has a little bit of something they want to do. And I have a question like that for you too. But before I get into that, I feel like well, like me personally, my goal is to do 2D animation at some point
Ah,
down the
interesting.
line. And so that's my aesthetic in terms of where I see I would like to dabble in. Not just,
Hmm.
I always want to draw comics. Comics will always be part of my life. As far as now, I'm focusing on just doing my own writing,
Oh,
after
that's
a lot
great.
of, yeah, I feel like I have this conversation with myself all the time. I'm sure you have as well. Um, and I think once you hit a certain point in your either one, your career, or two, in your livelihood, and you
Hmm.
kind of take on like the negative aspects of dealing with people in this field, depending on what layer of the field you're in. I feel like it can leave you inspired or sort of disgruntled. And I think I've felt more of the disgruntled part up to this point. And
Yeah.
to save face from my art, I decided to walk away from certain aspects of doing creative projects. So I'm still open to doing design types things for people, but I'm not open to doing comics for people anymore.
Oh, yeah, that's great. I think we're traveling along the same path. I've mentioned to my friends and students that I'm officially retired. So no more, so no more freelance work. For me, I'm done. I'm just going to spend the rest of my life working on this film and this film project. So it's kind of like my final project. So yeah, it's pretty cool. It's a lot of fun, you know. And I think we have a similar past, believe it or not. Um,
Really?
yeah, yeah, because I went to school not with George Pratt. He was a couple of years ahead of me, but we were in the same school, you know, and we had the same teacher. Dave Pazalakwa taught George Pratt, taught myself. So I think we have a similar, I don't know, kind of aesthetic, at least upbringing. So it's kind of interesting.
Wow.
Yeah, right.
Interesting. Where have the world aligned in that way, huh?
Small world, right? It's pretty crazy.
Crazy. Yeah, George Pratt, I chat with him every once in a while. It's been a while. I should knock on his door, but it's been years since I talked to George. Like I had a conversation, along like something along these lines.
Yeah.
And I feel like
Well,
everyone's kind of busy.
yeah, I don't think I've ever actually talked to him personally. I may have just seen him a couple of times, but I know that he was there. I always
Mhm.
thought, what does he have to do with Pratt? Since his name is George Pratt, I don't think it has anything to do with the school, but
Yeah.
Pratt Institute. So,
It's a coincidence.
yeah, pretty crazy.
That is crazy. That's crazy. Small world. Well, so with your work you're doing with right now, is this work you're sort of like just sketching on the regular that you just keep yourself like mentally structured, or is this stuff you just have you have like stacks and stacks you've been keeping up with and sort of just revisiting them? Because that's what I don't know like the work I see always seems like you have so much of it, it seems so fresh to me. And like,
Thank you.
um, yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of just the side stuff that I do just to fill up Instagram.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
yeah, yeah, but the main stuff is the film work and everything like that. So if
Do
I
you
were
feel
to,
Just to jump off that, do you feel that it's important, even though you're not pursuing this type of work, to still keep up the habit? Is it like is it mental jargon for you, or?
well, um, I don't know. I think it's just keeping the pilot light on and keeping connected with people out there.
Yeah.
But it can be a detriment if that's what you depend on. You know what I mean? If people look at this work and say, "Oh, that's you," then you throw it away and you start something else, and then people are like, "Hey, stop doing that." So
Really, huh?
yeah, so I even thought to myself, "Oh, well, maybe for my film, I could do an animated opening sequence in this kind of like Mahoney style." But the worst thing that can happen if people are like, "Oh, I hated that film, but I liked the opening sequence." I'm like, dude. I'm like, no, I'm not even going to try. I'm not even going to compete with my own silliness. But yeah, no, I do like drawing. I think drawing is very therapeutic, and just creating
Yeah.
images that are kind of like mindless and just having a lot of fun with that. I think that can be great, But I think at the same time, you do want to have your goals clearly in mind. You know what I mean? And if you've achieved your goals in certain areas, then it's time to move on.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I can go to an art gallery or a museum, and be like, oh, that's cool. But I'm much more excited to see the opening of a big film that, rocks my world. Like I saw Fury Road 11 times,
Oh, really?
in the theater.
Yeah.
I don't think I would go to an art gallery show 11 times. What I'm saying? Never.
Really?
Maybe once. I don't know. So,
I feel that way about film too. There's
yeah.
films and shorts that I've seen, I don't know how many times. And I'm a big 2D guy. I like 2D animation, so my heart, a lot of the stuff I work out in my comics comes from that too. Even though I'm like, as far as inspirational stuff that I keep rocked in my head, there's a lot of like 80s animation, 80s
Okay.
and 90s animation mixed with a lot of old masters of and inkers, and I like Sergio Topi and like George Safino types,
Yeah, it's so
and
cool.
like yeah, that stuff. And I'm kind of swept within that. I'm trying to find my mix within that. I'm still trying to figure it out, even though style particularly is not the goal, but making consistent work is my goal. And so, because I struggle with that, and I feel like, did you ever struggle trying to figure out your aesthetic at the time you were doing this stuff, or
Well, I
you ever
definitely had
question?
some, yeah, I had some dips in the road. I went on some pathways that were not good. And it kind of made my work a lot worse, especially when I graduated college. I got involved with certain types of art that just I shouldn't have gotten involved with. And it kind of took me way down. And then I had to kind of crawl back out of the hole I was in for a while. And now I just feel like whatever aesthetic that I have, I try to identify that and run from it as hard and as fast as I can, you know?
Right.
When you get away from your aesthetic, the true essence of who you are shows through. The aesthetic is just a shield or an outpour of what happened in the past. But to find your true self is to keep going and uncovering new things.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. So to get out of drawing, I started doing sculpture, and to get out of sculpture, I get into ZBrush, and to get out of ZBrush, I get into some acting, improv acting and stuff like that. But then I had to get out of all that. So,
But all the outlets are creative in itself, so you're.
oh yeah, they're all going to one direction. They're all going towards directing a film, teaching
I,
class,
I,
stuff like
I
that.
I thought it'd be like at some point as the art thing goes around, you're like, and you could be like, I want to become a pilot. I'm like, whoa, what? How did that happen? Just like
Yeah.
it could be, it didn't swerve that far. It's all in the creative realm. So that's at least you're consistent in that way. Because
Oh no, it's all going in one direction. It's all going towards film. And I like artists like James Cameron
hmm
and Ridley Scott. People that are, and of course Tim Burton and Del Toro. People that are artists that are hands-on with their filmmaking, and they create these very distinctive aesthetics.
nice.
Yeah, my dream was to go back to school for cinematography because that's what I really love more than all this stuff. Even though the lighting in here looks like crap, but I decided after a while that I'm just too old to go back to school, and I'll learn much more if I do an entire film myself, from start to finish. I might be able to peek through the.
You think it's the school, like the school structures, is that not appealing because of your age group, or you seem fairly
Well,
young to me. I don't know how old you are, but
well, the thing about school is there's a lot of time that's spent in school, and we don't have that. I don't have much time. We don't have much time left. For me to do the films that I want to do, I can't just take off and go back to school again. So What can I learn the most? What project or what can I do to learn the most?
Ah,
Yeah, I was thinking I would love to go back to school to USC. That would be my dream. My dream was always go to USC. But then I started calculating if I go to USC, that's an hour commute down there, an hour back. That's 2 hours a day. That's like
right.
whatever that is. That's 10 hours a week that I could be spending on actually producing product. So I
Hmm.
started doing the calculations in my mind, and I'm like, well, I have some money saved. Why don't I just put it all towards my dream project? And then it's not a dream anymore. Now it's my daily activity. Sometimes it's my nightmare. If it can be it can be difficult to say the least. It can be you don't sleep at night and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
writing a script is the hardest thing in the world. It's easy to critique. Oh yeah, that movie sucked. But then to
Yeah.
sit down and write the script
Yeah.
yourself from start to finish, it's like, oh well, that's actually kind of hard.
That is. Yeah, this is
uh,
my. I've wrote a few shorts myself, and I
Great,
haven't touched them right. But I'm working on my first story. I'm doing it. I'm saying no to distraction, and I'm going for my book now, which is the Gumbo book,
great,
uh,
awesome.
and it is challenging because I'm doing it because I decided I'm not going to take on work, but deciding not to take on work in that area requires me to, try to enhance this ability. And I always, respected people, especially in the art field, that could draw and write their own things. Most of those people are the books I have, and there
That's
seems to be a
great.
trend.
Cool.
Hmm. And I was going to ask you, so let me see here. Um, well, we already talked about that. How do you deal with plateaus in your creative outlets? Like when you hit a stump, what's your go-to way of trying to get around those plateaus, or do you just kind of accept where you are at the moment, and then if something changes, that's great, or do you really try to break them with new habits? And it sounds like, from what I'm hearing, you're kind of already doing that in some aspects, but I don't know if you have specific ways of directing, even if it's for things you're doing now or things that you've done in the past. Either way, I would love to hear.
Yeah, definitely. Because I do teach. I teach illustration and all that in sculpture, and so I'm talking to students not necessarily about breaking through their plateaus, but anticipating plateaus that are going to happen later on in their career.
Uh-huh.
You don't have much plateauing when you're in school because you're bouncing all over the place. But then
Right.
you've been out of school for a few years and you don't have that push. There's a chance that you can kind of flatline. My teacher said this. He said the best thing to do is become another artist. Just forget about who you are.
Hmm.
Check your ego at the door and become someone else.
Right.
So yeah, I tried to become Sergio Topi for a little while, or George Ushel was an incredible sculptor. I tried to do his style. Simon Lee, I was obsessed with Simon Lee for a long time. He's another sculptor.
Yeah.
So Robert Valley, we're talking about Robert Valley today.
Oh
Um,
yeah, War Valley.
he's
He
a
worked on one of the animations for what's that? What's it called? Robot something?
Oh yeah, robot sex and drugs and whatever it's
Yeah.
called, death.
Yeah. I watched it. There were some ones that really stuck out to me, and the one he worked on was really interesting. That was probably one of my favorite ones, actually.
Definitely,
Um,
he's great.
yeah, definitely the aesthetic there, and not to get off too far off track, but I mean, I was really impressed, even with the story alone itself, and having like, is it like it for you? Is having just good art good enough, or do you need to have the aesthetic of the story there to enjoy yourself? Do you see yourself?
Well, yeah, that's a great question. So when I was a kid, I would never even read comics. I would just look at the pictures.
Hmm.
So when I created my book, the Zentropa comic book graphic novel, it was a wordless comic, and it was kind of like you come up with your own story when you look at the pages.
Yeah.
Um, that was not by choice. That was the only way I could create. Words get in the way, and once I started putting word bubbles in my artwork, the inspiration just vanished. So I realized that I'm a much more visual person,
Hmm.
um, and I feed off of visual. One visual leads to another. Words are the bane of my existence. And I found out later on that I have dyslexia, which most artists have anyways, no big deal. But I don't necessarily like words necessarily. There's a thing that they say that if we never learned how to talk, we would be much better artists because
Oh yeah,
yeah,
I totally agree with that. Oh my goodness.
yeah, because everything has a word. A shoe has a name and stuff like that. But if we can see it in its purity without having labels on things, we would actually all be able to draw. And so when you see these incredible cave paintings, which are some of the best artwork ever done, and they didn't go to college, you know what I'm saying? But they didn't
Yeah.
have words; they just had images. That's how they interpreted their world. So anyway, not to get off on
Oh,
it.
I totally agree with you. I feel that way about pretty much every ancient civilization myself. I mean, granted that there was definitely some negative aspects to creating some of that work, like the pyramids, man. But as far as an aesthetic, it's like none of those people went to college. It's like there's no school for that. But it's like
Yeah,
the idea to put that on that's the one of the longest lasting stamps. The cave paintings and all these things. It's just it really it kind of sticks to you, and it kind of makes you wonder, like and you as a teacher, and I not to put you on a spot, but you are a professional teacher. Do you feel like the I don't know if every college is different, maybe your system is different, but as far as the teaching aspect, do you feel like it's absolutely necessary now? Like I feel like me as a student,
necessary to what teach? I don't
I
know.
can teach. I feel like in terms of like learning from about art and from artists, I feel like mentorships are probably going to be the future in terms of having like everyone that has like an individual aesthetic to what they want to teach. I feel like that's where the market's going, and versus there are good aspects of having community when it comes to college, but then the type of price tag attached to learning creative outlets seems not be to me seems it seems a little dysfunctional, and I don't know if it's going to get any better. And I don't know if it's going to be up to people that are, professional teachers like yourself teaching on a different routes. And I've talked to other professionals about this, so I don't know if that's something that you've ever given any thought to.
Well, yeah, I mean that's what we think about all the time as teachers. But I think that there will be changes. Obviously, there's going to be transformations that happen. The good thing about school for me was I was force fed certain things that I would never learn. I was forced to learn graphic design, typography, art direction, art
Mm-hmm.
history, all things that I would just, if it was up to me, I would just do monsters. And
Oh yeah.
yeah, of course.
Is
Um,
that some of the aesthetic that with the film you're doing now? I'd like to hear more about that actually.
oh
In
yeah, we
terms,
have lots of creatures and it's like lots of like Beauty and the Beast type of a thing. So there's romantic relationships between the people and the monsters. I don't think they're monsters. I think they're my friends. But but yeah, so that force-fed mentality, the problem with mentorship is that you might find someone that you admire who's kind of close to what you do already. And you kind of go in that path, and it kind of might close you off a little bit to other things that may have been thrown in your path, forcibly, So I'm really glad that I went to art school. I'm glad that I went to Pratt. I learned so much,
Mhm.
so many things that I, again, was kind of forced to learn that I didn't want to learn. I hated typography. I hated graphic design. And
Yeah.
now, if you look at my Instagram, it's all graphic design influenced. So, I think that being smart about it as a young person and saying, do I want to go into debt? Is there other ways around me getting the education that I need? Being smart about it is essential. But also, there is positive things putting yourself into the entire, curriculum
Yeah.
as well.
Totally.
So
I totally agree with you. I would never admit to saying that college is in having that college setting would be a terrible thing to get rid of. I think it
that is
had,
point of view of some people, and that's fine too. It's like if
yeah.
you can do it on your own, then hey, go for it.
And yeah, I was thinking more along the lines of like studying under one mentor and then learning new things from another mentor. I feel like that would be, and that's what I was, I guess, visualizing in my head, and maybe I didn't communicate that well, but I'm
No,
still learning how to communicate these days. Like this is kind of the reason why I want to do this, just to, one, talking to people I admire their work, and then two, you know, building some sort of social frame because I feel like I'm sort of a hermit these days.
oh
All I'm doing
yeah,
is drawing pages and pages. I draw a page a day at least now, page and a half. So
that's
I
great.
I kind of need these moments, and it's hour of just social time. I think is healthy. Um, as far as the next question I have for you, let me see. Oh yes, well, I discussed this in the last conversation I had with Vincent, and I'd like to ask you on the idea of sketchbooks. Do you still carry sketchbooks?
Do I carry sketchbooks? You
Yeah.
mean in my backpack or?
Well, just
Yeah.
in terms of like we were discussing the difficulties of keeping up with a habit, and one of the hard things about keeping up with it, drawing or just your own creative outlets, wherever it is expressing your ideas on a regular basis. And sometimes with people who have like I worked part-time jobs and things like that, or I had to commute far. I always felt
Oh
like
yeah, good for you. And you drew during your commutes. I remember you mentioning that.
yeah. And so is that something you do? Like I'm sure at some point in your career, did you out the bat come out of school and you found a place to call work and home that was a creative outlet for you, or the downtimes throughout your past towards your path to where you are now that you had to figure out ways to keep the gears in motion, so to speak.
Yeah, well, I did study with my teacher, Dave Pazzalacqua, after college, and his whole philosophy was a lot of reportage drawing, drawing on location, life
Hmm.
drawing, all that type of stuff. So that's what we did, morning, noon, and night, basically. And I think that built up a certain aesthetic. I know you guys kind of chatted about that a little bit. I agree that drawing from the real world. So here in Los Angeles, they have a lot of drawing workshops. So
Oh, okay.
I try to do that if I can once a week or something like that. But I don't know if drawing was ever the thing for me. You know what I'm saying? It was always the drawing represented something else. It was like a drawing that I wanted to be something else. Like again, like a live action character or creature.
Hmm.
So the sculpture got me closer to that. And then now, working with actors a little bit, makeup and all that type of stuff is going to be much, much closer.
And,
So, yeah.
and just to get back to that, when you talk working with actors, how long have you been working on this project now? Since you started, how long has it
Oh,
been?
about, I don't know, 3 years, maybe 3 years.
3 years. Okay, so, huh? That's a good amount of time.
Oh, yeah.
How
It
far
would
into
take the
the
rest of my life to get it done, you know. Um, Once you're doing a science fiction live action film, you're designing it from top to bottom and then trying to get funding and then getting it out there. It's a whole process. I remember just as I heard a story when George Lucas was writing Star Wars, he was so stressed that he would cut out chunks of his hair and he would drop it into a garbage bag and not garbage, like, and so you think, oh yeah, great, George Lucas. It was a struggle for these people. It wasn't
Yeah.
easy. It wasn't like they fell backwards into these things. I remember hearing a story about James Cameron when he was writing the Terminator. I think he was writing three scripts at the same time. I think it was the Terminator, Aliens, and maybe Rambo. And he
Uh-huh.
realized that he had to write a certain amount of pages per day in order to get these things done. So it wasn't necessarily out of inspiration, it was out of survival. He had to get
I can see,
X
yeah.
amount of pages done. So you can actually force creativity or force excellence out of yourself by giving yourself deadlines, you know?
Yeah.
And
I
it's
totally agree with that.
interesting. It's
Totally
interesting.
agree with that. So do you I'm sure you and we're going to talk more about your project. I want to get more into that. I also want to ask this question. Do you believe that it's is it to me it seems delusional personally.
My
But
film, yes, I. My project. I'm going to stop you right there, Mahoney. You're never going to get it done. You are delusional.
I am. I'm delusional. I'm delusional, but I feel like in terms of the idea of like what's it? The idea that to make creative work you have to feel creative, and I don't know that's necessarily true because
It ain't true. Yeah,
it's
you
not.
got to just force
You just
yourself
gotta
to
sit
do
down and do it. I feel like that's the way to do it, and I feel like someone, especially in your where you are in your life, making this film, 3 years seems like obviously there's going to be just by proxy days you don't want to work on your own project, I would assume, and then you have to power through it.
Yeah, yeah. That's the hardest part. That's the really hardest part, you know. It's not easy. So what I'll do is, when things get really bad, I'll set a timer and say, okay, you have to work for an hour. And most of the time, once you get started, the wheels start turning and it becomes easy again. Um, so that's the easy part. If you can get yourself started, you know. A lot of the sculptures that ended up becoming characters in the films started off as just demos that I was doing at Cal Arts, and then it turned into a character that I fell in love with. It ended up finding its way into the film. So keeping excuses going for creating art, it could be, the what is it, the Inktober or whatever it is that inspires you to keep working. Once that image is done, it could lead to other things like a comic book or a story or something like that. So it's nudging yourself, and that's fun. Yeah, I've had drawing parties or sculpture parties, have people come over to the house, and we're just going to hang out.
Yeah.
And all we do is gossip about other artists, and but the funny thing is, we create so much work because you're not on Instagram. No offense, you're not on. You're not on.
I'm not
you're not,
offended.
this is a take a break. But you're not on Facebook. You're not on your cell phone. You're just doodling, but you're there creating. So that's something I would recommend for people once the pandemic is over, or even these live events where you can all work together,
Mm,
and encourage each other. Because the thing is, it's not about creating good work. That's the myth. It's not about that. It's just creating work. You are who you are,
yeah.
and good, bad, or whatever. But if you're creating, you're going to constantly start getting better. And even if you're not getting better, who cares? At this
Well,
stage, with the world as is, do we really care if our drawing is good or bad? It doesn't matter. It's about, do we enjoy what we're doing that day? And if we're enjoying it, and if we can not only enjoy what we're doing, but encourage other people to enjoy what they're doing, I think that's infinitely more important than just creating good work. And that also takes the pressure away. Takes a lot of pressure away.
oh man, I must be doing. I mean, that is a better way to think about it than the way I think about it. I think I'm heavy-handed on myself. I think I'm really a heavy, hard critic. Not to other people. I mean, I did have that conversation with Vincent about people asking me about tools, and that can get annoying sometimes. But I also, um, on my end, I guess I look up to my inspirations, like story wise and things that really sunk deep into me, and I really want to head in that direction. And I think for me, whatever, like you were talking about excuses to do the work, I think
Absolutely, yeah.
my excuses for doing it in a lot of ways. So like to get me through like the project I'm doing right now, which is like each issue of the book I'm doing is going to probably be like 100 pages at least, and so
Wow, cool.
yeah. I mean, this pandemic gave me, I shot from 25 to I'm out on 85 pages, and so
That's
I'm
incredible.
moving in the direction, but for me to have these excuses and, and days that I don't feel like working it, I remind myself that I want to, for myself, and this is just myself, I want to create good work, but I also have like, Jeff Smith in the back of my head, who did Bone, and, I also, I have
Yeah.
Otomo Akira in my back of my head. And I was like, I really want to shoot for that type of epic story. And so
But
the
that
story I'm writing is in the realm of trying to make a collection of stories that I can really flesh out. And so, from my excuses might sound negative in terms of no, not negative, but unproductive. I guess would be the way I guess to justify what I'm doing or how I'm going about it. I guess, but I see what you're saying, and I think there is some truth to that. There's a lot of truth to what you just said. I'm gonna have to think about that one.
Yeah, I mean, it's something to ponder. You
Yeah.
know, when I was doing my graphic novel before I did it, I was like, oh, I'm not good enough, or I don't know. I just didn't feel like the pages were good enough, so I never did it. And then I got very ill. I got sick. You know, I was almost dying, literally.
Oh
And I
wow.
remember, yeah, man, I remember sitting in the bed thinking I might only live another week. You know, and I'm like, do I really care if that graphic novel was good or bad? What a sad thing not to ever create it because I was holding back. And then later
Oh, no
on,
hold back. No hold
yeah,
back. That's not what I mean by
no,
that.
just
No.
saying in general for other artists who might be listening to just
Oh yeah, yeah, for
go
sure.
for it, you know, just go
Go
for it. I
for it.
want to say shout out to a lot of the listeners. I'm looking at the little feed. Thank you everyone for tuning in. You
Oh
guys,
yeah. I try to keep it as fluid as I can. I'm glad I'm glad you decided to say yes to this conversation. I really did. I enjoy your work and I enjoy the conversation. I'm really appreciative of your time.
thank
And it's,
you, thank you.
what else would I like to ask you here? Um, outside, so yes, I would like to go back to your project because now that I know it's a 3-year project that you're working on, and it's going to take up
Probably
a
another
good
20
chunk of
years.
20 years. What
Yeah.
I don't know what kind of question to ask to that. I've
Well, let me put it
never
this way.
heard of anything
It,
like that.
well, let's say to actually finish the full production design, storyboards, and everything. Let's say that takes a year. Then raising funding. If I can't raise funding, then I'm going to start shooting the film myself, which is to shoot scenes, and then I could do a proof of concept and show that, keep going back and forth, try to raise the money and get the film made. Then there's post production, and then there's getting it distributed. But I was thinking too that there could be animated films based on the live action film, like little prequels or stuff like that. Then there's toys that can come from it, video games, and maybe a VR experience.
Hmm.
So there's so many things that can come from this one nucleus that I could easily see it taking the rest of my life, easily, no problem. Yeah, and joyfully, you know. So
I'm
yeah.
so excited. I'm super excited. I'm super excited and just to hear that you're so honest to yourself about the timeline and it doesn't discourage you is so awesome.
Well, that's
Like,
guaranteed joy for the next 20 years.
yeah, and that
Awesome.
see how I now I see how that connects. Okay, that makes a lot more sense a little bit now. I see I have some pathway to so how you talk about enjoying the work and just doing it and how it's connected to enjoying the work even if it's a long project. I can see a little bit of the how that is weaved together, I think, in your mindset. That's interesting. That's pretty
Yeah,
cool.
absolutely. It's like if someone said, "Oh, we're going to give you a vacation to Hawaii." Oh, that's great. How long is it? 3 days. Oh, that's awesome. And next day, oh, we're gonna send you there for 20 years. I'm like, wow, life is good. You know, life is good.
Yeah, because other people, I think the mindset of someone else, I would have a conversation with along these lines. I feel like what separates you, like this is a very distinctive thing I'm getting from you that I'm not going to get from someone else's. I think a lot of people are, especially that are artists that are working on things, are fearful of missing out on their other things they want to do, and I feel like that's why I probably wouldn't take up a product that would do that. But I feel like you are so dedicated to the process of what you do. Are you more interested in the process? It sounds like you're interested in more of the process of what you do versus the results of what you do. Is that
Well, you
accurate?
can't really depend on the results,
Yeah.
because it may never happen.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm with you. I'm a process guy myself. I'm all about the whole thing, which is why I kind of the project I'm working on now, I've separated myself as much as I can from working digitally. I'm all about the process, hand works and working with hands. I think someone wrote something here. I don't know if, hold on.
yeah, there's some. Do you want me to? Do you want to read it? Sounds
I
like.
can't see it.
Oh, I can see. It says, "Don't be surprised. Other writers have also gone down the same path. What I feel is that our dear Mahoney is preparing for something huge. Analyze and reanalyze. As he grows, his project also grows." I think that's great. Uh,
Yeah,
yeah, I think that. Well, the thing about film, just not to, you know, is I can do storyboards. I can sculpt the characters. I can work on on practical effects and stuff like that. So it's not just one thing, it's 100 things. It's just taking the 100 things that I'm interested in and funneling it all into one direction. You
yeah.
know, so there isn't anything that I would like to do other than stuff that's involved in this film. You know, I don't want to rollerblade, you know, I don't want to skydive.
Yeah.
I don't like hanging out at the beach. I get stressed if I'm sitting there staring at the water. You know,
Oh, well.
I'm only feel relaxed when I'm working on this stuff. You know,
I
it's so
totally agree.
tranquil.
Yeah.
You know, so I encourage other people who are listening because a lot of times people say, "Oh, I'm doing this, this, and this, but someday I want to do that." Why
Yeah.
don't you make that someday now so that you can start to become good at it? Because you can say, I want to do this, I want to do that, but you have to become good at it. So in order to become good at it, you got to start now, you know? If I remember thinking, oh, if I could go back, maybe I should have not gone to art school. Maybe I should have gone straight to film school. But then I would probably think now, yeah, but I miss drawing and painting, you know? So it's kind of like one thing was necessary in order to go to the other, you know? And for me, I feel great. I feel like, you know, if something happened and I, you know, God forbid I, you know, die early, whatever, I will die happy. I will die happy going towards the thing that I'm most excited about, you know, completely, thoroughly happy. And
Yeah.
also, yeah, passing this happiness along to every single person I can meet. You know, it's not about the end result because let's say you spend 20 years on a film, the film comes out and you get an award. That time period might be 6 months. What about the other 20 years of struggle? So you have to enjoy the whole process. That's part of it. And that
Yeah.
way you already won. I've already won. You know, I've already celebrated. I celebrate 5 times a day. I'm like, this is great. I love this story. This is the greatest thing ever. You know, and maybe other people might be like, I don't know, John, but that's okay. You know, you have to have that almost like blind, ridiculous, I don't know, drive to keep moving forward.
Yeah.
And the problems, the things that are wrong with the project will kind of fix themselves on the way or not. You know, there's no such thing as a perfect project anyway. So, you know what I'm saying? Just kind of keep moving forward. The one thing I want to say, I have the most incredible artists working for me. I have 5 artists working on the project, and if they're listening, I want to put a shout out to them because they're my children, and I love them, and they're making the project better every day. You know,
It's awesome.
yeah, and that's my dream is to hire these amazing artists. You know, it takes everything to this other level, which was always my dream to have a small studio and just nurture and make people do the best work that they can do so we have a project that we all believe in. Life is good. And I really
Yeah.
feel grateful right now, you know.
Yeah. I agree with you. I totally agree. Even though there's a lot of noise in the atmosphere, I feel like there's still a lot of good things that we can also, ingest. And I think, art is one of them, and which is why I have a list of people I'm going to be talking to this week, and I'm so happy you're one of them. Um, and to understand a little bit more about your mindset is really eye-opening, and it kind of makes me understand a little bit. I look at your work, I see a lot of other things there because I have the screen up right now, so I'm still looking at your work, and so I feel like knowing a little bit more about where you're going. Do you look at your work like for example, I'm seeing on your Instagram. Do you see? It feels now more like a world you built, and
Exactly.
now that inspiration for something else you're about to do.
Yeah,
Is
it's
it?
all about world, you know, building my own world, you know. With the artwork, it's kind of weird. I'm like, oh, I did that. That's cool. You know, and I'm surprised that I did it. But I have to, you know, put a shout out to all the people that I stole from. You know, it's all
Yeah. course.
Mobius and Kent Williams and
Oh
Sergio
yeah.
Topi and Heavy
Huge
Metal
movie.
Magazine.
Oh
Yeah,
my.
so I'm kind of ingesting those people, but they enabled me to create something that I feel really proud of.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like, does that me? Is that where I want to be? It's like, no, that's on the way to something else. Like
Yeah.
let's say just talk for a second. Let's say I'm doing a live action film. I have all this weird artwork that I can't use.
Yeah.
You could have really interesting graffiti on the walls of a scene. That's the artwork that you see on Instagram. So there's ways that you can use it. Or again, if there's an animated film or an animated short that comes from the live action film, then I can bring that stylistic stuff from Instagram back into the mix.
Oh.
So it's bringing everything together, into one cauldron. And I think that the everyone, I don't know how many people, but the people that are listening, if you start thinking to yourself all of the things that you can do already and all the things that you want to do and kind of try to funnel them into one project, that project can take you to some amazing places. It's really exciting.
That's awesome. Huh. So to stay on the idea of your film in terms of what you in terms of like the artists you're using, are they all in the same vein as like mode of thinking, or they all have something extremely different to offer? Or is like do you feel like you're in a band, like a musical band like Radiohead? Like
No, it's more
like
like we're all having the very similar aesthetic.
okay.
It's not it's how could I say it's we all love the same exact thing.
Oh,
So it has a very singular vision. So it's not like I don't have to tell the artist, oh, could you do? We're already kind of excited about the exact same thing. Pretty much, I hope. They're probably listening, like, oh my God, Mahoney. Um, but but having that singular vision is essential. Another thing that's really exciting to me, imagine making a film without any executive interference.
oh my God.
How awesome is that? No one telling you, no marketing people saying, yeah, but so and so isn't going to like it. It's like, it's not about that. It's about a very narrow sliver of people, not narrow, hopefully not that narrow, but a narrow sliver of people that's going to like this type of a thing. But enough people are going to like it, hopefully, that we make enough money that we make a little bit of a profit. It doesn't have to be the next, I don't know, it doesn't have to be the next big thing. I think films that have singular visions are what I really respect. If you
Yeah.
can see a movie and see the writer and the director in the film, that personal thumbprint, those are the filmmakers and the films that I really aspire to. You know.
Do you still watch? Because I guess because right now, since I'm doing a book, I'm trying to not consume too much comics at this time. I might read one I'm kind of want to finish, but I'm trying to stay away from what I'm actually doing because I don't want it to have too much of a heavy influence on me. So I don't know. Because some people do that. So you could do the complete opposite and like watch more. But I feel like how you're going about it, I'm assuming you can tell me yourself. Are you staying away from watching films right now in this time in your life?
Well, sadly, I guess I am. Yeah. I mean, it's kind of funny you asked that question. It kind of threw me, but yeah, I haven't been watching as much as I used to, just because I'm doing rather than watching. And this
Hmm.
this was the scariest thing last summer. I had like a I don't know. I wouldn't say it was a midlife crisis if it was only lasted one day, but I remember sitting there in my living room watching these movies, and I was like, "My God, am I just a film fan? Is that all I am?"
Oh
And
yeah.
that really struck me like a ton of bricks. Like, is that all I'm going
Oh
to do is sit
yeah.
around and talk about how great these filmmakers are and how
Yeah.
eloquent I can talk about this and I'm sitting there staring at my script that I'm struggling with, saying, "You think you're a filmmaker? You can't even finish the script." But that really
Wow.
gave me a push to say, I got to get off the couch, man, and make this movie, and I got to put my money and put my mouth, put all my resources towards this.
Yeah. And you gotta
Otherwise,
still be able to look at yourself in the mirror too. That's that's an aspect of this thing that's really, um, man, that's you really threw me for a curveball when you said
Right?
that. Oh man, jeez,
Yeah.
that's a hard thing to contend with because you're the only one you're contending with, and so
Yeah, because nobody cares. They can look at your artwork online. Oh, you're doing fine, and nobody cares if you're going to be this or you be. It's all on your own shoulders. So but at that point, I kind of picked myself up. I didn't really never. I thought, oh, I'm a filmmaker. I'm a filmmaker because I don't know, I do shorts once in a while.
yeah,
But once I put my mind towards it, I was like, okay, I'm a filmmaker now, and I'm going to make a film. And yes, the film might be very bad, but I'm still a filmmaker, and
that, that
that's a massive
is that's a
realization.
massive change and shift. Yeah,
Yeah. Not that
wow.
I think it's actually gonna be pretty cool, but we'll see.
No, that's pretty cool. I went like I mean to go into my own thing. I mean I was yeah I think I couldn't call myself a comic book artist, and people would see my work because I've done a lot of odd jobs, and I really the five blades thing I did, and I talked a little bit on the last thing, so I won't go too much into it, but that was my I was really hopeful, and it was sad to see that thing crumble under stupid excuses for not it shouldn't have been that way, but it is what it is. But I spent years thinking I would be a comic book artist at this point, and at this point in my life, or at this point, and it just never happened. I had to sit down with myself and be like, it's now or never. And so I
Yeah.
sat down and I was just like, I'm writing a script, I'm doing it, and this was around Inktober, and so I was like, I'm gonna write. I've written other things, and I still want to do those things. I want to do something that I can't walk away from, and I have to make sure that I like the story so much that I'm going to be excited about it the whole way through, even on the hard days. And so, doing that, I wrote a little bit there, and I just kept writing a little bit every day, and at right around the end of it, I was like, now I start grabbing supplies. I spent money. I had a little bit of money to myself to buy little things. I said no bars, no nothing. I'm making this project.
That's
And the
great.
minute that I got stuck at home, I wake up, I drink tea, and then I go, and then I'll go out and walk in around the area just to say I was out in the sun for a second. But um, yeah, like I couldn't content with myself if I didn't start something like this. It'd be really difficult. I feel like if you don't have a thing, and I feel bad for people who haven't found that yet, and it sounds like you're on the way to seeing an artist in their unit like yourself as you talk about your projects. It sounds like you're on the forefront of discovery, and it seems like a healthy place to be. And I don't care, and anybody listen, that's great. And if you feel like it's too late to do that, it's never too late. Just start, and it's really about just starting. And I commend you, man. I really
Yeah.
do.
Thank you. I think that's the theme. Like, it's never too late to enjoy life. That's
Yeah,
really about. That's the real thing.
yeah,
I would like when you're talking about that. If people are listening out there and they don't have that project yet, it's all about gathering things that you're excited about, gathering inspiration, start drawing based on the artists that you admire. And what you're doing, I talk about this in class all the time, is you're filling the well with information and energy. And eventually, when that well is full, it starts to overflow. And when it starts to overflow, you start to create awesome things. But at the beginning, that's okay. And the thing that happened with this whole pandemic, I said mentioned this before, is that the plug was pulled and everyone's energy was erased, and we all
yeah,
had to start from scratch again about a month ago, right?
yeah,
But if we understand that, we accept that that's okay. I have to build my energy up again. Then, when the energy is full again, we have all this free time to do all this work. But it's going to take some time to rebuild, to kind of
mhm,
fill that well up again.
yeah,
Um, when I was in school, I was always so jealous of Kent Williams because he always was producing. But
Yeah.
he knew what he wanted. He was a fine artist who wanted to do comic books. So he created the graphic novel, basically. I
Yeah.
didn't know. I mean, maybe, no, I didn't really know. I thought I wanted to be an illustrator. I had this really dumb idea of becoming a rich illustrator that was so rich that I could fund my own films,
Oh,
you know?
yeah.
But imagine if I could
I
go
mean,
back,
there are some artists like that right now. They're out there. I just don't know all of them and who they are, but
but I wasn't willing to take that route. I wasn't willing to work under art directors and do all this garbage, in New York City. So I wasn't willing to be an illustrator just so I could be a filmmaker. You're
yeah,
better off buying a video camera and shooting film right now. Skip the middle. Skip the
yeah,
I'm going to do this to become rich. Instead,
yeah,
I'm going to do this because I love it. And you might not become rich, but you're already rich with enjoyment. Money doesn't make, as a cliche, that money isn't going to make you any happier. But if you're enjoying your day, and if you can inspire other people to enjoy their day, that's rich. Even if
yeah,
you only have $1 in the bank, that's rich.
yeah.
So
I
it's
would
exciting
agree.
stuff.
Yeah, I'm definitely. I mean, my mindset is if I can make money in a way that can keep me going, because I have to navigate this somehow. That's the goal. It's not to
Absolutely.
become wealthy. I mean, you should definitely be financially responsible so you can keep doing it. But um, yeah, money's not my goal. I've been approached to do books again for places. The places I used to apply to now, I
Uh,
I get those emails now, but my mindset has switched. I've decided I'm only writing what I really want to draw. And so
that's great.
saying no to collaborations and bigger people that have money, it's kind of nice to just be like I've made a decision, and knowing you made a decision, without even knowing what the real results of the decisions you've made are. It's kind of it's about enjoying that journey. I think that's something I think me and you have in common, especially I'm noticing in this conversation. And I am enjoying the differences too. Don't get me wrong. I enjoy the differences in perspective, but there's definitely some deep overlap when it comes to I think in pursuing the work. I see a lot of like connections there. I see a lot of um, self uh, enjoyment and what's the word I'm looking for? Being okay with a little bit of the delusions. I guess this is the right. I don't know if that's the right way to say that, but
Yeah, I
like
totally agree.
yeah, being okay with some of the delusions as long as you know it's not for a specific result. I think there's some connectivity there. But man, you're a very interesting individual. I really like knowing about this project, knowing we'll have to wait this long. Man, now I'm frustrated now.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Do you have any places that you have up online that I can maybe check out more about this project you're working on now, and for anybody listening that wants to know more about it?
No.
Not yet.
It's all top secret. It's all top
Top
secret.
secret.
The funny thing is, and I did write a script a long time ago, and I was shopping it around town, and I thought it was good. But yeah, I was pitching a film many years ago around town. I wrote the script, and I remember I got this really vicious criticism from, I can't remember what the studio was. They have these script readers, um, which I have no respect for. But they said the worst script ever. Um, and I was like, all right, whatever. I got a little discouraged by that. And I didn't mean to, but I think I did. And then, several years later, I saw posters all around Los Angeles for the film, and people like congratulating me and everything. And I was like, what are you talking about? Come to find out, someone stole that script and made that movie. And while I was watching the movie, I was turning my pages of my script, predicting the next scenes. So they stole the story, made
Wait,
the movie.
is the story you wrote?
Yeah, absolutely.
How did they get access to the story?
Well, I was pitching it around, so you're showing it here, you're showing it there, so anyone could just take it and move forward with it.
Um,
The funny thing is, and it was like, well, you might think, well, maybe it's a coincidence. The actor that I had picked for the film was this low budget actor, and she was on the cover of the script, and she ended up starring in the movie. So I'm like,
Fucking kidding me.
swear to God. So I remember thinking, well, I could be really discouraged or whatever, but I'm thinking, hey, I wrote a script that was made into a movie. You know, that's inspiring. So
Wow.
anyway, that's
That's the silver lining to that one. I just that makes you wonder because I pitched a story to Boom, but in the email I asked them, "Are you guys going to go through the story?" They're saying, "No, we're declining to go with your pitch." So I guess because I had that in email, I don't
well,
know if
you want
that
to have your stuff, you know, copywritten and stuff like that. I mean,
yeah
I had a copyright and everything too, but I didn't have any money for lawyers. There's no way. So anyway,
yeah
I don't mean to talk negatively, but the thing is with this project, I'm going to try to keep it on the down low, if you know what I'm saying. I'm not going to be pitching it around. When we have this thing ready to pitch, it's going to be all the artwork, everything is going to be copywritten, so it's going to be almost impossible to grab. And I think that again, it's not a bad thing. I was sitting on the project way too long. I deserve to have it stolen from me. You know, you sit on something so long, you're not doing anything with it. You know, it's like leaving a jelly roll on the table. Eventually, someone's going to eat it.
they called it something different, I assume, when they
Oh
made the
yeah, they changed the name. So so anyway, that's why I'm just keeping things on the down low. It's not like top secret, but
yeah
you know, there's no reason to have someone do something that's kind of a watered down version, and I have to change the script around. That's not going to be any fun. So anyway,
yeah
uh, yeah.
yeah for Gumbo, I'm in the process of having everything settled right now. But as far as the imagery, I don't know if the imagery is easily stolen in terms of the image I put on Instagram because it's really hard to tell what the story is even about. So I don't know. That's why I'm not, I guess, not too weird about sharing some of the process of it.
Well,
'Cause-
what you should do is take all the images that you have. You can put it together in like a temporary book, okay? Then you send that to get a government copyright. So all of the images are copywritten under the umbrella of that one book. It only costs like $50, and you can have all the artwork copyrighted. So if someone, you know, comes along and steals one of your things, you know, like there was the movie. I'm not sure what the situation was, but there was a
I would have to take pictures of everything, not everything scanned, right?
oh yeah,
Like all the new stuff I'm drawing.
take
Yeah.
pictures. There was a movie 12 Monkeys where there's artist Lebus Woods, and they used his chair for the part in the movie. And I think the director even said, "I just want to thank Lebus Woods for your inspiration," and he sued them, and he won. I think it even delayed the release of the movie. But he won a crap load of money for that. So anyway, just copyright. That goes for all the artists that are listening. You could
Yeah.
take all of your stuff on Instagram and copyright it all under the umbrella of one book, and then it won't. That way you don't have to pay for copyright in each and every image. Then you have a government copyright that's proven that you did it at a certain time, and it just alleviates a certain amount of stress. Because if you go to court, you're not, you know, saying that you put it on Instagram isn't enough. You know, it's like I put it on there, everyone knows it's mine. It's like copyrighted. It doesn't
Mm.
cost that much, you know. So
Yeah, I do. I go through the process of copywriting stuff, and I copyrighted a lot of images of the book from
great,
it. But to go, I would like to know more, and I can talk to you about this another time.
sure.
Um,
I'm no
just
expert.
gathering that information and putting it all under one title, even like the new stuff. So would it be like every time I take a picture of every new page I do, or how would I for
No,
the
this would only be for everything that's already created.
okay,
Like, what
okay.
if you did a life's work book and put all the work in there? Then you've got it all copyrighted, all under one, you know, $50 thing. And you've copyrighted everything that you've ever done, as long as you have it all scanned or you take little snapshots of it.
Okay.
It's it's easy, but if someone were to take your image or a character and put it on a T-shirt or in a movie, and you go after them, um, if you have a copyright, it just makes it much easier to go after people. Not that they are going to go after you, but just having peace of mind. That's
Yeah,
all. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? I don't think
totally.
that people are so evil that they're constantly wanting to steal people's things, but
Of
you
course,
know,
of course.
you
I mean, it would be very. I mean, it'd be very difficult with just the Instagram post because I really don't show much either, though. But
you're
yeah,
looking at you, getting all paranoid, looking at us. I don't really, I don't show. I'm getting all nervous.
I mean, it's like you see shoes, you see a face. It's not like I'm showing anybody anything, heavy-handed on what the book is or the characters or what they are. It's
Yeah, exactly. Give me like a sneak peek here and
like
there.
all the newer stuff I'm doing. Like I copyrighted some stuff prior, but I didn't know you could do it all under one umbrella. So I would like to know more about that. But as far as the new pages, I do snippets of. I don't know how paranoid I should be, but we'll find we'll find out.
But yeah, but like I said, it doesn't cost that much. You know what I
Okay.
mean? To copyright a big batch of work. So I'm going to do that soon for my film, like now, and then again in another 6 months, and just keep copywriting and stuff like that. And you know,
Yeah, I'm only done the like first. I'm only in the first issue, so I was gonna I before I do like to do the whole book, the first issue, I probably should do it all at once then, so I don't have to keep going back.
it's just money. It's only $50. It's not like you're paying thousands of dollars for like a something
Oh
really
yeah, oh yeah. I'm social distancing and I have no job, so I don't want to constantly be copywriting.
big.
So
Yeah,
just
exactly. So you can wait.
under the certain structure I have right now. But yeah, I totally get that information if you want, if I can chat with you about that, figure out how that process to make this much simpler because it's annoying doing it the way I've been doing it. But yeah, appreciate it.
Yeah, yeah, totally, totally.
Is there anything else you would like to talk about before we break it off here? I feel like I learned a lot of new things about you, and all of it new, but I learned a lot and about your aesthetic, your vision. I'm really excited about this project you're working on, and I know not to bring it up until
No, no, it's fine.
until you bring it up. But
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I like talking about it, but just not the specifics. But yeah, no, I would encourage everyone to not necessarily do art, but inspire yourself first. Start zeroing in on the stuff that you're really passionate about. Don't feel guilty about it. It could be something that people think is silly or frivolous, but you're really excited about it. And do that, and study that, and become good at that. And don't worry about it taking you places. As long as it's giving you an enjoyment in that moment, it took you where it needs to take you. But the thing is, once you get bitten by the bug, you start getting excited about doing it more and more. And next thing like I spent years going to bed at midnight and waking up at 4 a.m. every day. I did that for like 10 years, which is not healthy, but but I was just
no,
so excited. I just couldn't stay asleep. I was so
yeah,
excited about so much stuff. So getting yourself excited, it could be something like this is the last thing I'll say. This is in people who have taken my class are already probably rolling their eyes. I know we're waiting for him to say this, but is to create some type of inspiration binder where you print stuff out that you're excited about and you put it in some kind of a 3-ring binder or something like that. And it puts importance to it and it makes it feel that much more real when you bring it into the real world. Because all of us have 5 million images on our computer that we're inspired by. But if you have it in like a binder, you can actually lay the pages out on your table and it becomes 1,000 times more inspiring. And inspiration is the food that we need to move forward.
yeah,
And money is helpful and food is helpful too, but it's inspiration. And we
yeah,
have it. It's surrounding us. It's almost like we're overwhelmed by it. But when we start organizing our inspiration and organizing the direction that we want to go in, we start pushing ourselves towards a productive path, and staying close to your inspirations. It could be a TV show that you watch over and over and over again, or
oh yeah,
whatever. Yeah, but keep that close to you. That's an angel on your shoulder. And
oh
if you feel tired or if you feel uninspired, that means you're kind of going in the wrong direction. So remember back to the time when you were really inspired and go back to those things.
yeah,
And I've done that over and over again. That's why when you look at my Instagram, it has a very specific aesthetic because I'm purposely going away from everything I don't like and moving towards what I do like, and that creates your thumbprint. When you get to that level or that direction, you don't need to sign your artwork anymore. People, it's you. You know, you are your artwork is your signature, and
Yeah.
in embracing that 100%, and you know, I guarantee the people are listening. You start putting that into practice, you're going to see results. You're going to see yourself getting more and more excited every day,
Yeah,
and
I agree.
that's the most important part for me is to pass that along to everyone I come in contact with. So there you
And there you have it. I
go.
I appreciate that. That's good, and I'll keep those in my thoughts when I'm working. But yeah, anytime I find a place where I'm not feeling what I'm doing, I always tread back, especially when my thumbnails into my story or my script, I'm like, I messed up somewhere because I'm traveling down the path and I'm not even excited about it. So what happened? So I know the feeling of re-stepping back and you're going in a direction that not might feel right. No, don't force the direction if it's not the right direction. I totally agree with that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, don't let the industry tell you what you should do.
Yeah.
People ask me all the time, "Do you want to go back into industry?" I say, "I want to create my own industry." So, without even batting an eye, I want to do my
Yep.
own industry, and I'll join my own industry. Right now,
Yeah.
I'm joining. Sign me
I,
up.
the idea of I feel like it's hard for people to wrap their head around like this sort of entrepreneurial experiment you want to put yourself through and have people join you in your thing you're doing and seeing your own vision. I feel like it's very hard. I have that sometimes because people I tend to want me try to suggest I go work for so and so or go work for so and I have to say I'm not interested. I'm truly just not interested. Maybe when I was younger, I would have been
Exactly.
interested, but I'm not. I'm not. It would have been great experience to have when I was younger, but I'm not about that particular experience anymore. I'm in specific. I'm more specific in my experience I want to have right now, and so I think that's where it is.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And all these big companies started the same way we're talking right here. Someone had a vision or an idea and they created a company and now they're hiring people. And why can't we do that?
Yeah, I have no
They did it.
idea.
Why
I
can't
don't,
we do that?
I don't know why. I don't see any problem with it. I think a lot of people I come across don't. I don't know if they see things in that way. It seems to be a very small group of people I run into that feel that way about, artistically about seeing their self as their own visionary, So, but
Yeah.
yeah,
So I just want to pass that along to other people to say maybe if they haven't heard that, to at least have heard it and say, well, at least there's this crazy
yeah,
guy out in, wherever is trying to do it. Because if they haven't heard it, that's a tragedy. you know
yeah,
like they're just working at this job that they're not too crazy about because they don't know anything else. At least they've heard that there are other opportunities.
yeah.
That I think is the most important thing for us to kind of get the word out that there are other opportunities out there.
Yeah, you don't want to wait until you're fed up to make the decision to try something because that's what I mean, I had to get to a fed up place. I worked for a customer service place for like 7 years before I took.
Wow, there you go.
I would never like that. Like now I have a fire under my ass, basically. It's kind of like, and it took being wasting a lot of time for me to realize never to do that again. So that was my path. But if someone would have said that or sat down and kind of explained that to me in some aspect or some way, that might have made things a little different. So it's good for you to, for someone who hasn't heard that.
Yeah, I'm excited. Imagine some 15-year-old kid is hearing this and saying, well, maybe instead of working for the studio, maybe I should start designing and building my own company. They could be the next huge thing because they started so young and they've achieved this. And that to
Yeah,
me would be the ultimate for some young person to,
yeah,
not that anyone, but especially a young person to be like, yeah, I can do this.
yeah. Especially I feel like as a young person, people are really trying to push you into conformity in a lot of ways. And so it's kind of
Yeah, I
break.
remember that there was a scene in Pink Floyd The Wall where all the kids are going into the meat grinder and like the hamburgers coming out on the other side. I always think of that scene fondly when I think of that way of thinking. I don't want to be another piece of hamburger. I want to think
Yeah.
I want to avoid that type of. So
Well, I really appreciate your time, Mr. Mahoney. I really have to thank you, and I can't thank you enough. And I'm gonna hope you stick around for to check out the other ones that I do. I'm gonna try to
yeah,
keep
I will.
talking. Hopefully, get better at doing this. I feel like I'm not on my game because to ask the right questions, but I have. I think everything I wanted to get out of this conversation flew up anyway. So
That's
this was
great.
exciting. I appreciate you, and I'll be hitting you up again about that other information you spoke of. So
Absolutely.
um, and I'll keep my eyes out.
All right. Well, thanks so much for everything.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
All right. Well, take
Take
care.
care. I'm gonna end this video, and I'm glad we had proper goodbye as well, because that would have been terrible if we just cut you off.
Yeah, we can save the video and all that
Yeah.
stuff. So cool,
I'll
man.
also send you a copy of the audio too, if you want.
Oh yeah, maybe we can do put it up as a podcast or something.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna talk to everybody about how to go about doing that too,
Perfect.
um, just so we have it like gathered and everyone who was involved in the conversation have that listed. So I'm
Okay. And I
definitely
wanted to,
gonna.
thank everyone that took the time to listen too. I really appreciate
Yeah.
you guys out there. You're all awesome. So very cool.
Yes. Thank you. And you're really good at the conversation aspect. I'm always surprised. Like I want to break the idea of like the shy artists. Like we all see the art, so I'm
There
trying to
is.
break that.
I don't think there's any such thing as a shy film director though. You can't. You can't. You just can't. So anyway.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much.
Take care.
Okay.
Peace.
Take care. Peace.